Welcome to Easy Email Marketing. I'm your host, Yael Keown, mum, FIFO wife, MBA, coffee lover, Survivor superfan, and creator of the email experience. In Easy Email Marketing, you'll benefit from my nearly 20 years experience, where I'll be teaching you all the tips, tricks, and insider info on how to create feel-good, non-spammy experiences for your subscribers. Let's get stuck in. Welcome back to the Easy Email Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Yael Keown, and today we have a very special guest with us to talk all things branding and what on earth it has to do with email marketing. So Rachel Reiter is a great business friend of mine, and she's also a brand stylist and mentor. So she works closely with flourishing online entrepreneurs to create heartfelt brand personalities that align with their purpose-led vision through her one-on-one services at Hopscotch Branding Studio. But she's also the founder of a signature brand foundation and strategy program, Brand Alchemy, and monthly membership, The Branding Hub, which guides and supports passionate women in business to cultivate an authentic, intentional brand. When Rachel isn't creating and mentoring, she's raising 4 daughters, including triplets, I might add, with her hubby, Matt, in Adelaide, South Australia. And while she's addicted to coffee, like me, she's a passionate tea lover and makes pleasure in the simple things like warm sand between her toes or curling up with an epic novel. Rachel knows how to stand out online as a brand, but what I especially love about Rachel is that she does it as an introvert and just standing solid in who she is. So that's why I believe she's the perfect person to bring on to talk about how we can bring out that essence, how we can be ourselves, and how we can actually have a strong brand through even a medium like email. So today's episode, we talk about what branding has to do with email marketing beyond just that logo sitting at the top. Rachel also shares her 6-step process for branding success, including how all things like your vision, your values, and your target market all influence how you can truly connect with your subscribers, and also how providing contrast and being different to all those online trends is actually what helps you stand out online and will build your tribe and your loyalty and your sales. This episode is packed with valuable tips, but more importantly, it includes permission to be yourself, which I think is the most important thing. So without further ado, let's get stuck into my chat with Rachel. Welcome, Rachel, to the Easy Email Marketing Podcast. So great to have you here.
Thank you very much. I'm excited to be here, Yael.
Yeah, I am not one to dilly-daddle. So let's cut straight to the chase, shall we? So when most people think about branding, they think logos or colors or fonts, maybe their website, because it brings in a few of these elements. So apart from sticking a logo at the top of our emails or using our brand colors for our buttons, what on earth does branding have to do with email marketing? Okay, why are you even here on an email marketing podcast?
Wow. Okay.
Really by invitation, by the way, anyone who's listening. So it wasn't like I just...
You really do like to just cut to the chase.
Yeah, cut straight in.
Okay. All right. Let's break that down a little bit. So, all right, let's come back to people associating a brand with a logo. Mm-hmm. And that's true. I mean, a logo is essentially a symbol for our brand. It represents our brand. It's something that's memorable. It's iconic. It's usually aligned with, the style of brand or what we offer. And that is why most people just assume, talk about brand, that's it. It's a logo. Obviously, there's colors involved. We pick some fonts. Away you go, Bob's your uncle, done.
Yep.
But
was that easy?
That's so easy. But your brand is actually how your offer is positioned, like how people are thinking and feeling about your offer, like whether it's a product or a service or you if you're a personal brand. So it's actually their perception of you, their opinion of you, how they feel about you, the impression that you are leaving with them. Basically, it's a gut feeling. So it's a little bit of a disconnect there then when you're talking about that. And then, well, how does a logo sort of fit into that? How does that work? How do we even influence people in this way? But if you go through a branding process, it sort of uncovers lots and lots of different layers that you should be establishing of how you would like your brand to be represented. And then the solution to all of these things is the logo, is the colors. If you're using color strategically with color psychology, you can actually start to influence people's perceptions simply just through the colors that you choose. So once you go through this process, it's like a foundational process that I believe every business should go through before they start doing any kind of marketing, whether that's, on your website you mentioned, or through their email marketing, the way that they're speaking to people. All of these things will just be so much easier and lighter. And it will take the pressure off a lot of decision making, I suppose, when it comes to doing all of those things. And you will have a logo design, hopefully, that will stand the test of time rather than you just constantly second guessing yourself. So it takes away a lot of that guesswork as well. So that was hopefully unpacked everything that you said there.
Yeah, so I'm reading into it because one of the things I think that you alluded to there was, and one of the things that I see a lot when it comes to people thinking about email marketing is, what on earth do I send? How can I really connect with my audience? How do I make myself feel different? And so I think what you said there about, okay, you've got making these decisions before you'd even do the logos and stuff. Those same decisions are what are going to help you figure out, okay, this is the type of stuff I need to be sharing, the type of stuff I need to be bringing across, and I guess underlying all my messaging and my strategy. Do I have that right?
Yeah, absolutely. Because part of the branding process is identifying the most perfectly aligned customer that's going to put their hand up and say, yes, I want that thing. I want to work with you. Like, it's just meant to be, it should be really quick and easy and really clear. So we do this as a visual designer. I do this as part of my process to make sure that the visual outcome is going to be attractive to that particular type of person, like that target audience as a whole, or sometimes people niche it down to a client avatar. But while doing this process, you are uncovering their needs and their desires and even their personality types and what they're worried about. And so by identifying all of these things, it opens up a whole range of connection points that you can use to communicate and open a conversation and create that connection. Because by creating a connection, like an actual human connection in this way, by communicating with words through email marketing, you're actually going to be you're going to leave a more memorable impression on that person because you care. Like, it shows that you actually care what they are feeling in that particular moment, what they're feeling, how you're going to be able to, ease that, whatever it is for them, or feel the desire. Or
absolutely. The more you understand them, the easier it is to talk to them and feel like you're actually providing value. And it gives you, I guess, that confidence and that that feeling that, people need this, they want this, and that helps with that kind of mindset stuff that goes along with it. So we've talked about target market. So I'm sure there's a few other processes and stuff you do in the background. So if someone was like, okay, I want to do a little bit of brand work that's beyond just the visuals, what are some of these foundations? What are some of these processes and things that someone should be looking at?
Yeah, well, I can sort of share this. I've got sort of like a 6-step
love it,
that I use with my one-on-ones. I use it in my course. It's even if you aren't ready to invest in working with somebody or in a program, these are sort of just questions or things to start thinking about, I guess, because if you don't know what to think about, then you're left wondering. So hopefully these will give you an anchor for anybody out there who is just starting out. But the first thing we do in branding is we think about the end game. So we set a clear vision. So where do you want this brand to be? Even if it's just 5 or 10 years' time, like, what's that point? Because by projecting that point, we know where we're going, and we're not going to be making decisions for where we are now. We're going to be making decisions for the growth of that particular brand, and where we want it to be, where we want it to be perceived. So if you were thinking about how you want your brand to be perceived in 10 years' time, that's how you need to start showing up now to be able to grow.
Love it.
So the second step is to know what you stand for. We're basically drawing a line in the sand, establishing the values and the culture of the brand. So knowing, what you stand for, what you don't stand for, and just being confident in that. So that's a decision that you need to make. That's not just something that's going to fall into your lap. That's something that you need to be strong about, and the culture of the organization needs to follow suit, including team members, collaborators, all those sorts of things. It makes it a lot easier too. Like, it makes it easier to communicate those things. So the third step is to amplify what makes you different. So this is, you mentioned before, standing out.
Yes.
And that's a tricky thing, because standing out, when you say that phrase, standing out, for a lot of people, it's sort of, I just recorded a podcast about introverts, for branding for introverts, and covered this exact topic.
Okay, cool. We'll definitely, if you identify with that.
Yeah, exactly. Me too. Most people, I don't know, I think about, people dancing on their reels or wearing short skirts, parading around on stage with microphones and that sort of thing. And that, to me is like what people think of when they think of standing out. But I like to sort of think about standing out in a way that is going to attract your perfect customer. So it needs to be in alignment with what they need from you. So, if you are, I don't know, like a midwife who does home consultations, you need to think about what's going to attract the exact person that needs you in that moment right now. Like, they need nurturing, they need empathy, they need kindness. So it's more of a softer feel. And so you are actually going to attract a more aligned customer if you think about that rather than the traditional way of standing out. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh, and definitely when I thought about, raising this with you, the standing out online, I definitely was thinking how much you stand out online to me, just because you are just in such a different, like, you stand out by the fact that you aren't all like song and dancey and everything, that you're just like a calming presence. That's how I see it. So it's sort of like, that feeling that you don't have to be this big, like, you could just talk, say your truth, but there's still this confidence there. There's still this like centeredness. So I guess, and that's, I guess, what I was wanting to bring across in this is just think how can people bring, as you say, bring their own unique flavor, but still stand out. Yeah.
And I think that I get that comment a lot about social media, particularly Instagram. And I think it's a contrast thing because social media is so noisy now. Like, everybody's doing the voiceover reels. Everybody's doing the funky music with with the bits that change. And then there's something that you point at. I don't know. But then, to have all that noise and that fast stuff happening, because we're all trying to grab attention quick. And then they sort of hit my feed or your feed. There's a slowness and there's a contrast.
Oh, mine isn't a slowness. I'm all or nothing. I don't mind doing a little dance. But I just have fun with it.
I'm definitely more of a slow vibe. I'm more of a chill vibe. And I think that's why. Like, I really do think that it's because of the contrast. And so if you can create that with you in your industry and, not just try and blend in with your competitors, but stand out in comparison. So find the thing that they are not, that you are, and lean into that, then just run with it. So there's this phrase that I like to use that is by Marty Neumeier, and it is, when everybody else zigs, you zag. It takes guts though.
Yeah.
And I think you mentioned that confidence, but if there's something that's different about what you offer, you can find your confidence in that and lean into that.
Yeah.
So that's
No, that I love that. And I know we're stopping down and we'll get to the other steps
yes, let's
in
get
a
to the other
minute
step.
too. But I'm
Yeah.
also just, well, I mean, obviously social media is so upfront that we see this big contrast.
Yeah.
But seeing how that can also apply in the emails that you send as well.
Yes.
That emails don't have to be big, long, wordy things. They don't have to be buy my thing, buy my thing. They don't have to be the gift trend that a lot of people have going on. They can just be like warm hugs or just having a little chat. It could be whatever it is, that back to previously what we're talking about, like what it is that your audience actually wants to read and would like to, whether it is something that you think, okay, do they need just a quick and dirty 2-minute tip because they're busy running around doing something, or do they want to actually, you know, sit down with a cup of tea and take it and have a little time out and sit with your stuff. Yeah,
exactly. So it really comes down to what that person needs, and that's step 4.
Okay, cool. Look at me segueing in.
So step 4 is to define your perfect customer. So this is where we dig deep and we discover all of these isms about them that you can then sort of use as inspiration or connection points, as you mentioned, like whether it's a tip that they need to hear for the day or a reminder about something, or even if it's like a little bit of a story about yourself that you can then come in and relate back to something that they're experiencing or something that they're concerned about, and how it sort of offers a solution for them. So many different ways to connect via email these days. And I don't know about you, Yael, but I find the ones where I share my most vulnerable moments are the ones that people actually respond to and are grateful for and get those conversations going. And like for my brand and for my personality, like that's just the best. And like just when somebody validates what you're putting out there by replying is just...
And I love doing it. And I find emails kind of the best place to do that sort of thing, because your audience is a little bit more, you know, they're trusted. They're kind of your inner circle. They know your vibe. They know what you're about generally if they've been on your list for a little while. And if you share something a bit more vulnerable, it's just to them. It's not like this big social media, which sometimes can feel just like, you know, so much, and you could get, you know, cancel culture and stuff, you know, hopefully, you know, that stuff. But there's always this fear that something you put out there is going to come back and bite you. But if email's a little bit safer of a place to be vulnerable and to go deeper than what you would in a more public forum.
Exactly, because so as you said, like social media is a public forum. Yeah, you know, the idea of social media for most people, I guess, is just to attract some kind of audience. And yes, that happens to an extent, but because it sort of is just a blanket out there for anyone, you never know quite what response you're going to get, because you might sort of fall into the eyeballs of somebody who may not be in the same opinion as you, and that comes back to, you know, knowing what you stand for. So ideally, those on your email list, they're there because they want to be, like they've gelled with something that you have shared before and actively put their email address in, which means that they are a more aligned audience than if you were just putting a blanket thing out for social media.
Yeah, love it. Okay.
Yeah, so it is safer.
Yes, definitely safer. And definitely understanding who they are, and as you said to the previous points, understanding what you stand for will help with all of that.
Yeah, it's like your message is going to be more amplified in that space because you know that it's going to, you know, to ears or eyeballs, I guess, that are more receptive, you know, to what you want to share. So from all of these things, setting clear vision, knowing what you stand for, amplify what makes you different, knowing that perfect customer, we can then use all of this information to define the style of your brand. And this is where it comes to communication. So it's where you find out what your colors are and what your fonts are. And then your logo design will all of a sudden make sense and you'll know exactly what it needs to be. The language that you're using, the tone of voice that your brand embodies, you know, copy for your website or for flyers or what's going to be on your business card. It sort of all just starts to make sense and it starts to feel cohesive. And then the last step is to just please stick to your guidelines. Like the strongest brand will always be the most consistent.
Yeah.
And I get it, as a small business owner, it gets a bit boring after a while to be doing, like, feel like you're doing the same thing, but it's actually trust evoking to your audience, because they know that you're consistent. They know that you're, you know, what they're going to expect from you. They know all of a sudden they'll recognize your brand by its colors through repetition and consistency. And I think having that, you know, you were talking to before just about my social presence, that it's consistent for you. Like, you know what to expect from me when you read a post from me or when you see an Instagram story from me. Like, it's got a consistent vibe.
Yeah, we
and
can see the colours, or see, you know, just the style. Go, oh, yeah, that's Rachel. And you can stop it and stop the scroll effectively, because that's my friend, you know. Versus that looks the same as everyone else, or that's just another gold foil font, you know. And I guess, you know, when it comes to email, I always try to relate everything back to email as well. You know, it's the words as well, because, you know, when you're scrolling through, you know, the name and the subject line or whatever, you don't get to see the visuals, you don't get to see that, but you see the name and who they stand for. You stop with the subject line, and you stop with, again, amplifying what's different, connecting to who your ideal customer is. But being consistent, not just always, not just trying every single fad.
Exactly. So even with that, stick with your format. That people will come to know your emails if they haven't, you know, what it's like when you're in your inbox, particularly in the morning, you're sort of zooming through everything in there. If they haven't seen the name or the title, the subject line, they're just zooming through. If they open the email, it will be recognizable simply by the format, and they will think, oh, that's from this, you know, like, even just for example, like EB games. My kids are just into, you know, the Nintendo Switch games, and my husband's a big fan of that stuff. So we get EB games emails. I'm going to use that as an example. It's really obvious. I don't know. I know that this is a little different industry, and different industries will have different formats for emails, but it's obvious who they are, because, you know, they've got their logo, the format's always the same, and it's consistent and reliable. And it's the same from service providers or coaches that I subscribe to as well. You know, those types of emails are often more copy-based. But like, the fonts are the same, the size of the font is the same, the way that they sign off is the same. It's, you know, it's reliable and it's consistent. So whatever you do, whatever it is that you choose to do, yes, experiment obviously from time to time to see what you have to in business, don't you, to see what responses are better.
And you play around with topics and that sort of stuff. And I find emails a great experimenting ground for all of that, because you can see what people are interested in. But the feel, I guess, is what it comes down to. The vibe.
It sounds really vague, but the vibe, it's like, branding is all about the vibe. It really is.
And it trickles into absolutely everything that we do.
Everything.
So thank you so much, Rachel, for sharing all of that insight. I think we've really covered, without me even really needing to ask questions, we've ended up touching on, like, all the key points we want to stand out, like how to stand out, both online for, you know, to get people onto our lists in the first place, but then also, you know, how to stand out in those inboxes, and what are we writing, and how, and hopefully people are just seeing how this work, that some people might think like, oh, I'll do that later, or I just want to get into that. I'll put my hand up to that sometimes. How this pre-work, or this going through this process, will make everything else so much easier and so much more effective, and have you feeling more confident in what you're doing, rather than flying by the seat of your pants.
Yeah, exactly. And having that sort of process to follow does make it easier. But the outcome is just, as you said, confidence and just feeling lighter, making marketing so much easier.
Beautiful. Love it so much. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing all your wisdom with us today. Where can people find out more about you, or if they're like, oh, okay, I really need to get my brand sorted now, where do you recommend they go?
Yeah, well, I mean, you can head straight to my website, which is just rachelreiter.com, REITER. And I have got a free branding success blueprint that you can grab, which includes all of those 6 steps and goes into a little bit more detail about those. So if you are in those early stages, feel free to check that out. But yeah, probably the website is the best place to go, or as you mentioned, Instagram, Rachel Reiter _brand mentor.
I'll pop all those links in. You have a podcast as well too, don't you?
Yeah, I have a podcast. That's on the website too. Just head to the website.
Right. You can stalk her. You'll find her.
Thank you.
She's there consistently. Thank you so much, Rachel.
Thanks,
so glad to have you. Wow, absolutely loved all the gold that Rachel shared with us today. If you want to connect with Rachel further, you can find her on her website at rachelreiter.com. So that's Rachel, RACHEL, REITER.com, or she's over on Instagram at Rachel Reiter _brand mentor. I will link all of that in the show notes. She also has a fantastic freebie on her website where she goes into the 6-step blueprint further that we talked about in this episode. So if you want to grab your hands on that, make sure to head to her website. And finally, you can check out her podcast, which is called Brand Lover, which is on your favorite podcatcher. Thank you so much again, Rachel, for sharing all your insights and wisdom with us. That's it from me today. I would love to hear from you about what you've enjoyed from this episode, or what you want to know more about, or if you have anyone that you would love to have me chat to, or any topics you'd like me to cover, please let me know over on Instagram. I am at Yael Keown, all one word, and I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you for listening to Easy Email Marketing. It's an absolute honour that you chose to listen. If you love this episode, then it would mean the world to me if you could leave a review so that others can find this podcast and make their email marketing easy too. Finally, make sure to subscribe so that you don't miss a thing. Until next time, have an awesome day and make sure to keep showing up and serving in those inboxes.